Welcome to Kranky Live, the show where bold minds meet real talk. This isn't your average sports or news show. It's where we break down sports, culture, and controversy with facts, fire, and fearless honesty. Here, truth cuts through the noise, and hype gets exposed. From football to track and field, from world issues to local debates, we ask the tough questions, speak without fear, and go deeper than the headlines. We don't follow the crowd, we set the trend. While others recycle the same tired takes, we bring fresh insight, unfiltered analysis, and bold perspectives. No echo chambers, no puppet talk, just real conversation for people who think for themselves. Listen with your brain, not just your ears. Think critically, question boldly, and speak freely. This is Kranky Live, where reason rules the mic and truth always wins. Come on, let's get into it. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Can you guys hear me out in YouTube land? Bless up, Chorus. Is it Corniff? 1880. That's when you were born, Chorus? 1880? Must have been a good year. Are you watching my previous? Thanks for the support, Cortis. Chorus, I should say. Corn. I appreciate you observing the show, or the shows as it may be. A lot to talk about this evening. I decided to come on early because I have some stuff to do. Bless up, Ricardo. So I decided to come on early. I was supposed to come up at about 8:30, but decided to come earlier. I have some stuff to take care of. So figure I'd come, catch up, have a conversation. You see what the thumbnail looks like. And you see my expressions on the thumbnail, which is supposed to portray what I was thinking when I was listening to the interview. So the expressions probably says it all. Secondly, I'll touch upon a few items which are not related to the interview. One is around the Champions League and how it's going. Most of the English teams are out. Only Liverpool and Arsenal remaining. If I look at all the games, the Real Madrid side of the draw with Real Madrid, Bayern, PSG, Liverpool, that's brutal. Brutal side. And if I was thinking about the teams that have looked the best so far, I would say the Madrid, Bayern, PSG look the best of all the teams. Atletico Madrid looks good or decent, but Barca doesn't have any defense, so that's probably part of it. And we have been struggling for a while now. That's Arsenal. Bless up Odell. Bless up Princeton. We've been struggling for a while, so I'm not sure where we're gonna go. We need to recover our form. Our offense is non-existent, and our defense is still there, but we have injuries. And Cappy is out. Timber's always in and out for some reason. Probably plays too hard. And let's hope we get rid of Sporting next week and then play a Barca. Or, we don't really care who we play. It doesn't matter. They're not on defense. So our defense should be able to play their offense, and our offense should be able to scrape by them. The next side of the draw that is really interesting. The Bayern Madrid game. Should have been more goals in that game, but that tie's not over. And I look like Bellingham is back, and I think he'll help them both defensively and offensively. And I think PSG just look impregnable. They look unbeatable. But it all depends on matchup. I think Bayern will give PSG probably a better game. But PSG just finding form at the right time. Bless up Michael Gardner. So we'll see how that goes. Should be interesting. And then something more personal at home. So when I first came on YouTube, I promised a couple of things. That I would not criticize my friends, regardless of what they have done, unless they became frenemies, and that's happening. I didn't put that unless in here. And also, that I wouldn't criticize other YouTubers. But I've been getting so much communication nowadays about my name being called in, but about Kranky being called in various forums, and not in a good way, to be honest. So things like Kranky buying subscribers, Kranky's reading when he's talking, Kranky is It's about Jamaica. And I was a criticize Jamaica. And I live at Jamaica. Kranky, no born at Jamaica. And I'm going this and going that. So I'm not gonna today is not the time to address these things. I'm not gonna address them today. But I'm just telling people this. All on my YouTube, I call out all I know. Well, try to be Kranky. I am actually not the person to come after. I'm gonna repeat it again. I am not the person to come after. Anybody can come after me. Maverick, come and criticize Maverick. Can come after me 24/7. The JFF can come after me 24/7. Fuck them all. Ban me right now. They're not interview with me. I can't live with that. I'm criticize them. I'm not criticizing them. So, but if you don't want the smoke, you don't get the smoke. You hear me I say? May I repeat that to all the YouTubers them because I'm gonna come watch my channel and take what I want to take from it and go on the channel and improve it, and then I come criticize me. Me say if you don't want the smoke, me go into the smoke. That's all I have to say about that. See what I say? Everything when I say come back to me. Everything when I say come back to me. Because people come, phone blow up all the time. I just said, ciao. Make it go on. There are levels to this thing, people. Levels to this thing. I just tell someone, levels to this thing. I don't understand. I try to be as professional as possible. Sometimes you get emotive, but we're not in the petty thing. This is not Steve Naismith and what's his name? I was a fight. Steve Naismith, I was a fight to somebody. Everybody have criticized Steve Naismith. Some legit, some not legitimate. Some not legit. And I understand when you're in this public domain, if you're going to be a critic, you have to be able to absorb criticism. But at a minimum, I would think the people who are in your space would have the respect. And let others do it. Let people in the chat criticize me. Let people who comment on my videos criticize me. Let people who I criticize me. But I didn't expect that from fellow YouTubers. But if that's the way we're going to play the game, since I decided I wasn't going to go on that route, then bring it on. Bring it on. Let's come. Let's do it. Because I can't wait to beat someone. I don't want to bring it on. Can't wait to beat someone. I'm be brutal now. I'm going to take no prisoners. I go below basement. I keep telling them that. And don't believe me. Go below basement. I don't mind Rudolph Speed want to criticize me. Or the president. Or Dennis. Or anyone in people there. Can I criticize them brutally. Maverick, even more so. If Maverick criticize me and tell me something I'm not brain, I'm going to think I'm smart. I take it, me go back at him, but I criticize him enough for take the beating. But someone will do some things, me just laugh and make him say nothing about it. Someone leave that alone. So I say, move on. But by the way, talking about Maverick. Hey, Maverick. I tell me, you don't watch my channel now. You're too busy. No, we're not calling on you, man. We're not still recording. We're not calling on you. Maverick, you tell people saying you don't watch my channel. Maverick, you watch my channel, Maverick. And by the way, Maverick, I am very proud of you that even though you push up your chest in the public and go in a certain way, you actually have more humility than you express, you know. Because I criticize you about your being topical and I have no stats. Anytime you see video, now you drop stats, you know. Even though you don't know what you do sometimes with the stats. You mess them up. Because Maverick, people was trying to explain to me that the more further you are up the field, is the more prone you are to turnovers, given the traffic up top. And Maverick, I try to explain some things to me in football. I'm going to say, you know, when you get offended, somebody try to explain something, it's like, I'm trying to come up with that analogy. It's like, you know, say A equal B, and then I try to tell you A equal B. But you know more than them. But you have to listen to your cards, them are guilty. And you say to yourself, say, oh, look at where I come from. Look at where I come from the old time days of coaching or coaching work. I said before, the coach in Jamaica has been awful. I just know what it is until every coach at Jamaica. Who does speak tell you that 24/7? In the previous day, I used to play ball at Jamaica. They don't know if you coach we. Then give some orange. Them if you control the bottom of your foot. Them try if you go a little pass and man in the middle. They make you run all day till you drop down. They don't teach you nothing. Now you go learn by your own. They don't teach you nothing, trust me. They need you to beat a man, take ball up on the half turn, set up your opponent, how to play half space, how to play a zone. They don't teach you anything there. All them teach you some little thing where waste of time. I don't tell people what we know for coach. You know for coach. So when I talk about big coach at Jamaica, I laugh. That's why we can't produce some midfielders. Right? One of the things we don't seem to realize is that I've said this. If you can't produce midfielders, you can't coach. It's very extreme. It sounds harsh, but I truly believe that. If you don't know how to produce midfielders, quality midfielders, and you say a big time coach, and Jamaica have done quality midfielder for years upon years. Jamaica never produced a world-class midfielder or a very good midfielder. They have some decent one. They don't produce none where you can say, boy, I can play at a championship level on a regular basis and be dominant. We have Rudolph Austin play Leeds. We had Whitmore play, one player. I can't remember Whitmore player. Hibernian, what am I there? We had Freddie, we had Andy Williams, we had a number of midfielders. We had Cargill play high, we had a number of midfielders. But now I'm not close to come to, no I'm not come to like a Russell Latapy or a Dwight York, and nowhere close to this. So we can't produce one in the last 100 years? Really? Andy Williams was a decent player, man. We talk about people, we want to talk about people like Peter Master, we just play locally. People talk about some football, you say, oh no, like we just live in a little world, in a little bubble, and we stay in the bubble. Don't come out of the bubble, people. You have to leave the bubble. By the way, if you come in the chat, you know what, I'm not ask you, man. If you don't want to hit the like button, if you don't want to hit it, I'm not bother, no. I don't know the routines. If you don't want to hit the people, I'm not bother, no. Phone, that's your decision, whether you want to hit it or not. I will just keep talking. What else I have on my list? There's somebody named Reggae Boyz Reactor who's always in the chat. The Contrarian. I wonder if that's Rudolph's speech, brother. Yeah, check out. It's somebody who's very knowledgeable about the JFF. Even US is not normal in terms of somebody having that breadth of knowledge. I feel it's a Rudolph's speech, brother. You know, I'll check it. I was a defend Rudolph. Another point. I was watching the game between, well, two games actually, simultaneously. The Nottingham Forest versus Porto game and the Bologna versus Villa game. Actually, I didn't see Bailey. Did Bailey come on? I didn't see him. It was interesting. They were interesting games, actually. Villa won, Forest drew, I believe. I think Forest drew. But the point I was going to make is this, is that there were two Jamaicans playing for, one played for Nottingham Forest, one played for Bologna. Hutchinson came on late second half for Nottingham Forest, playing the EPL. And Jonathan Rowe played for Bologna. Now, those are two wingers we could really use, you know. I don't think Hutchinson's going to come back, given the beautiful treatment you guys give him. All you fans and the JFF and all that, the way you treat him so wonderfully, give him caviar and champagne and royal treatment. He loved it so much, he decided he wants no part to do with Jamaica. But there's another player who I text somebody about, as I watched him today, looked unplayable, was Jonathan Rowe. Jonathan Rowe had Villa people and passed skates to the people. Jonathan Rowe is Jamaican, he's naturalized. On his own, and I don't think he want to play with Jamaica, but it's nothing try, nothing done, right? I'm not going to play for England no time soon. I shouldn't even say that. The way he's playing, he looked really, really good today. He was just smoking Villa. Surprised he didn't get a goal. So in essence, I think we should go talk to Rowe and say, look, my youth, why you come in, you know? Because you come in, you're locked on one side of the field. Because he's physical, he's young, he's fit, he's quick, he's tricky. He has all the attributes of a very good winger. And if we're going to try to get the best team, not just the best players going forward, we have to start the recruiting yesterday. The recruiting is atrocious and it needs to change. A lot of players who have played for Jamaica before, and we thank them for their service. Now, we're in the military, so thank for your service. But we have to move on. If we're going to get better, we have to get better players, better coaching, better administration, better fans, better sponsors. We need to be better across the board. Better media. That's also very important. One that's going to hold people accountable. And in essence, he did score. I didn't realize he scored actually. I was watching the game, I don't know. But I watched him today, he was unplayable. And I watched him when they played, what they won, under 20 Euro. And he came on as a sub, he looked good. He didn't get a lot of game time. Hutchinson played much more than he did. But he looked impervious. He just looks really, really good. And I think he's somebody Jamaica should definitely pursue. Definitely pursue. But then JFF not really recruiting us, so we never know. And then I look on my screen, I'm going to see 47 like and 95 watching. I have to close my eyes and just keep moving. Keep it going. So JFF, if you're watching, you should be coming up with the universe of players can represent Jamaica across the board. Unless you want to go over totally local. And when I go to the Coley review interview today, we'll touch upon that, right? Quite a bit because it came up. Unless you go in local, everything, local coach, local everything, then they can't leave Jonathan Rowe them. If you decide you want to be decent or good, then yeah. It's under 23? Okay, I thought it was under 20. Now, here's another thing too. I hear a lot of people talking about people in diaspora only criticizing, talking about Jamaica, and talking about them. First of all, if you're not born in Jamaica, you shouldn't talk about Jamaica. Or you talk about Jamaica, you know, come back, come live, and when you not come back, come live. All sort of stuff, people. Let me just say this. I said this the other day. So by that token, that we can talk about a Mount Pleasant, or Cavalier, or the national team, or the girls, or whatever it is, and because we now come back, come help and invest. So then you shouldn't talk about anything outside Jamaica. Don't talk about no Liverpool. Don't talk about no Arsenal. Because you know English. You know English. You're not born in England. You're not invested in England. You're not doing in England. Don't talk about England. Just talk about Jamaica and Mount Pleasant and anything there. Stay in your lane. Because I don't want people to stay in their lane. So stay in your lane. Don't talk about no other country, no other football or nothing. Since the diaspora will go away, and then somebody come and run off them motors and I say, don't talk about nobody else then. Why you run off about England for? You know English. You're a Queen subject. You're Jamaica, stay at Jamaica, don't talk about nothing. Because when you're not living a local life, and people can't say nothing about Jamaica because for whatever reason, because no don't own the island, and I don't know, I don't know they mash it up, you know. And we are mash it up, I don't know mash it up. We are trying to help fix it. I give you an idea, I don't want the idea, man. If you don't know everything, I don't know nothing. No far, no. We're not from the mouth. I don't have vulture, pure vulture. And go on like I know everything. Don't know nothing about nothing. Anyway, I keep going. Tomorrow, what time? This is just public service announcement, people may I don't know. So get to the main part of the program. Just give me a second. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Jamaica time, Jamaica playing Antigua Barbuda. And the game is on something called VIX. I don't even know what the hell VIX is. What? I have a question, Jamaica. This is like criticize diaspora. Why we can't get games on regular TV for the national team? Why we can't do that? Why we can't do that? Why we can't get it on the national? You know what? You know what, bro God, and if it do like England though, may the public pay a tax on TV and use it for farmer station so we can get them public event there. Because we don't understand thing, yeah. You know what VIX is? Or me watch a game tomorrow. Me I want to think about if you bring the game and me can't bring no game because I don't know if I watch it. It may be on CONCACAF, but I don't want to do no CONCACAF thing. Not like stream nothing. All right. Corey says, let me take some comments and then we keep going. But the game is at 8 p.m. tomorrow, and then win them gone at what? The next round? A fight up with Mexico, US, Canada for 4th spot, automatically 3 spots, so that's going to be tough. Mexico has gotten so much better. VIX is a Spanish channel. I'm going to talk Spanish, you know, so. Bless up Keisha. I'm going to talk Spanish, none of that word. But the Reggae girls are playing at home. And by the way, people, no fun love run off on the mouth. I'm not Jamaica, so we can't go. If I'm in the USA, then I go. You know what? I think about the girls are playing in the US, you know. So we can't go again. But if the girls, them, they're playing tomorrow at stadium, they need your support. I'm going to go out of the game. You know, expensive. I'm going to stop running off on the mouth when we go World Cup and support the team. It'll be on Paramount. I didn't see it on Paramount, advertised for Paramount, so I'll look it up. Hopefully it is. If it's on Paramount, I probably will bring the game. But no fun love run from the mouth, and now support the girls them. And now support the team them. Go watch the girls them play. Stadium not far from when I know people at Kingston. You're not doing it Friday evening, 7 o'clock. You're not go party and spend your money and set up yourself. Go watch the girls in a nice environment in the stadium and socialize with your fellow Jamaicans. Locals, I should say. Those who think I'm not the only Jamaican. But that was my list of items that I wanted to discuss before I commence the main part of the program. But I will try to take some comments and then I will jump into the program. If I see anything that needs to be talked to. So, frankly say, I don't like the balance that Bench mentioned. He tried to cover it up when you ask him. Okay, so we're gonna get to we're gonna touch upon that. So let me set this up before we go into it. As you know, Miguel Coley, who previously coached Jamaica College, I think he said he won about, what I'm saying, won 13 trophies or so. What about trophy? He's in Jamaica and became assistant to William Schaefer, who's a well-renowned German coach and who coached Jamaica to the final of the Gold Cup, and Coley was there. And coach has been coaching over in the Money East. Some people call it the Middle East, we call it the Money East. And seems to have been doing well over there. And he's back in Jamaica now, came to assist Jamaica in his bid to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. We know how that ended up. And he had a good conversation on KLAS Omega Radio, who seem to be getting all the interviews nowadays. I wonder why. Is it because they're just amicable good people? Is it because they have a relationship with the JFF? I don't know, but them get them interview. I'm trying to get some people on channel people, but boy, it's hard. People stay away from me like me. I plague, me turn plague people. Me ask some people to interview and them say, some me that say, yeah man, me I come. Them, nah, come people. Me call, every time I call them, tell them I come. You can't reach. Especially one from last year. Me ask them to come, them say, yeah, I'm coming. Can't reach. I'm say, all right. Some other ones say, hold up, me get back to me, or one of them just ignore me. Not even respond. I'm say, come on, challenge him, just go silent. But then he might text about some things. So then don't text me then. Don't text me. If you're texting about certain things, but me ask to come on the channel, you just go silent. Don't text me. Stay away there. Me stay away there. So he sat down with Omega. By the way, people, I'm going to read this now. Some I've jotted some points because some people that say me read, but tell me I read. We can't do everything ad lib. We have to read nothing, you know. But when you host a program, you jot down some points where you make sure you want to hit them points there. So I teach someone now how to do this thing. Can I try to wing it? I mean, that's entertainment. Let me tell you something, people. See Maverick I learn from me. Hey, Maverick, what you do? So I said, me have to learn, me have to teach. And if I know I learn it, but I know I get credit. Don't forget credit, man. If I know I learn. Don't forget credit. Because I'm new to the YouTube space, you know. And don't forget pen and paper. Someone on YouTube has come in and I hit the like button. Because I don't know what the like button now. Carry pen and paper and come jot down some stuff when I'm there. May I read now? I can't read this. Let me look for you. Right now. Let me start people. But anyway, Miguel Coley was on Omega Radio. And it was an interesting conversation. So what did we get out of the interview? We got some insight. We got some positioning. We got some explanation, especially when it relates to the game against Congo. We got one clear contradiction, which was mentioned before in the chat, about the diaspora and heritage player. We'll touch upon that one there hard. So let's think about this. This conversation today, coming to some people in JFF, when we start talking people take things personal, you know? Personal, bad. People don't take it personal, man. Don't take it personal. If JFF, don't take it personal, JFF. I just call it what I say. Here's what people for doing at JFF who like to vex with me and beat me. If I say anything that's wrong or inappropriate, let me know. If you say anything that's wrong, so I mean, you say a fact, let me say a fact and a empirical truth, and I wrong, then call me out in public. Opinions are opinions, right? Or if you have an opinion which I disagree with, then you can come in the chat and talk, or you can come on the program and talk, and we can talk about it. Can we make sure me think before me speak, you know? But I think the conversation with by the way, Miguel Coley, by the way, let me just say something. There's an improvement, very much improvement in the local persons who are being put out to converse with the public, or who are bringing the JFF message to the public. So JFF, that's one flower summit. Check the box there. I'm going to credit. So whether it's Simon, who like a control press conference, I beat you, Simon. And I want to come back to Arville. Hey, Arville, okay, that's bad enough. Give us one question and I put you in a little box. I call him out Arville. Or whether it's Rudolph Speed, the man with 8 jobs. Can't help myself, Rudolph. With 8 jobs, who very eloquent, very articulate, quick on his feet, but sometimes can stretch things a little bit. Or Miguel Coley, who is very articulate. And the thing I like about Miguel is this, and I've talked about this before, people. I like this about Miguel a lot. I have said you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. A lot of people who leave Jamaica and go overseas, they have decided to go get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Let me say this to people. You see, when you leave your homeland, you're comfortable. You know the food, you know the environment, you know your community, and you have to get up and pull up yourself and go someplace where you struggle in your first few years to build a life. A big decision, that, you know. And a big move that, some people have no choice but to. Right? So diaspora, the transition for the diaspora is not easy. No, people in Jamaica who benefit from diaspora live much better life than people who come from foreign. Coley picked himself up from Jamaica and decided to go other part of the world to learn him trade, get him pro license, work with people of different cultures, different language, different environment, and seem to have strived in that environment. So that should be commended quite a bit. And he'll bring that experience back to Jamaica to assist with the program, even though he sort of vacillated, was non-committed in terms of what his next move is. We hear the president talk about it. Me said the president saying him talk too much. I misspoke. Say him talk too much. Talk too much. And disagree with that come. Even though Kranky, when say this, he agree with them. Come now, so Kranky, better than the president. But anyway, who's calling out who? So he had an interview on the Orville Higgins, that's the Dread, and who's in Jamaica on KLAS. He's also on CVM, I think. And Christopher Zinedine, I guess his father must be a baller, I love football. Zinedine Matthews, they were the hosts for the program. And Coley was on there for about an hour. And they had a very good conversation. Now, I listened to the show, and the tone of the show was good. It's very friendly. They create a friendly environment. They make them guests feel comfortable. Some people make them guests feel uncomfortable, like yours truly sometimes. But actually, none of my guests have been uncomfortable so far, because I haven't had any confrontational guests on my program, because I don't have a lot of them. So it was a really good discussion, actually. They covered a number of different topics, and we go through some of them. The conversation itself will tell you exactly what was discussed. Right? And whatever I'm going to say now, it's not personal. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just going to respond. I'm going to stop the video each time and respond to the questions that were asked and how Coley responded. So without further ado, let's jump into the interview.
2 games, New Caledonia and Congo.
Coming on, you're not. Hey, no, but I was just saying.
Well,
we're right. No,
hold on, we're going to get the mic up.
People,
yeah, keep going.
Yes, so first of all,
yeah, something is wrong, man. I don't know.
To your listeners,
I played it earlier.
thank you for having me on your program.
Hey, Mado, remove it and bring it back in, people. This is, I played it earlier. I tested it. Video. Or somebody tell me, say Christopher name wrong. It's Christopher Zinedine Matthews. Zinedine nickname. I told him, father, give my middle name. 2
games, New Caledonia and Congo.
All right. Decide not to embarrass me, people. They decide not to embarrass me. We beat them together in a star. That's why we can't take technology, I run it now. So here's the interview. And it's Orville speaking first.
Well, Elias, hold on, we're going to get the mic up. Yeah, keep going.
Yes, so first of all, good afternoon to your listeners, and thank you for having me on your program.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, as we shared on another platform,
right.
I was here a bit before the arrival time of the team, due to the fact that they're upward in the Middle East, especially where I was staying.
Right. And you were in Iraq?
Yeah, I was in Iraq at the time.
How serious was it?
Very serious, to the point where I got intelligence that I should go.
You hear that? Wow. You got intelligence as a coach, or you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
No, I got a message from somebody who said that, listen, you have to go. And when you get a text from somebody from that level, you know that you have to really.
It's here.
Yeah, and when I reached the border, there were thousands of people, who worked in all over Iraq who were leaving.
We're trying to leave Iraq.
Yeah, true.
So if that offer from the JFF didn't come, you would still not be in Iraq.
No, I would have left.
You would be on your way out. What were your initial thoughts when you got the offer to be the assistant?
So I'll stop this, people. I'm going to vex me, but by the way, those who are YouTubers, get your pen and paper out. We have break on the video. Because no life will be Kranky. So I'm going to teach you. The first thing Coley did, which was interesting, is that he humanized himself. First thing, talking about Iraq, Middle East, the danger. right? He humanized himself, having to leave, give him more transparent. We know what's happening in the Middle East. But what he also did was position him as a professional. He's coming to help Jamaica. He's coming to give back to the motherland. And he also is freeing himself as part of the solution, not part of the problem, because he might come back, he might give up something. And we know why he give up when he leave there, even though he had to leave because of the danger. So he already positioned himself in a certain realm. And if you go through the whole interview, because I listened to it twice, you can see that's part of the reflection and goes through it. You can see somebody who's gone overseas, learn, incorporate different things in his repertoires and individual as a human being, and relay that back to the public.
Or was it that you got the offer to be the assistant coach? Talk to us about that.
Well, my agent, who I work very closely, I trust. When the opportunity presented itself, he advised me that it was best to go and contribute to the World Cup hope as it relates to Jamaica. It was after the whole devastation of Melissa.
Yeah,
I believe Jamaica was in a state in which they needed hope, and we were on the cusp of going to the World Cup.
right.
And I believe the team that we had had a stand a good chance against the like of New Caledonia and Congo.
Right. What was your role? And I've always wondered about assistant coaches and their own part to play depends largely on the head coach and what exact role does he want the assistant coach to play. What was the role that you think you were required to play the most, or were you asked to perform it?
Well, the role is always to assist the head coach as much as possible to come up with ideas, in terms of the overall game planning. And then specifically, I would be, especially when it came to the camp, the coach responsible for out of possession, the defensive actions. When we don't have the ball, what we do, how we look like. So,
Yeah. Were you happy with how the team? And last night I heard the term the out of possession coach. I told Coley last night, never heard it described like that. But it simply means when you don't have the ball, what does your team do? Normally people say the defensive coach. But yeah, were you happy with how the team played in that regard over the two games?
in terms of the overall game, or in terms
The
of
out of possession
The
aspect.
out of possession aspect.
we could always do better. I think we were very aggressive.
Yeah.
We're very aggressive. Our counter pressing were very good. But there are moments in which, in terms of the team would have done something to disorientate us a bit. But what I was happy about was when those moments happened, how mentally strong or how organized we could reset and defend as a team.
Let me tell you something. You said something last night that stood out for me. When I said the Jamaican public remembers Miguel Coley for the visuals. We've heard about what you've done elsewhere. But from what the Jamaican public remembers of Miguel Coley was your fantastic stint at Jamaica College.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard the argument that at the very least, Coley should have gotten the under-20 team because what they saw you doing with JC absolutely stood out. The answer that you gave me last night, I don't know if you could repeat that, but it stood out. But I'm going to ask you now, different platform.
Mm-hmm.
That JC stint of yours, what does that mean, and how should the Jamaican public look at that?
No, it was an amazing time being at Jamaica College and achieving so much accolades, winning 12 trophies in 5 years. I think that is really phenomenal. But it was a total team effort. In terms of the JC success and how I'm viewed, I said last night that it's the word I used was that it's a betterment for me as it propelled me in terms of the public and other opportunities, but sometimes it's a detriment because when someone introduced me, they're talking about Jamaica College. And maybe 10 years down the road, I bring Jamaica to the World Cup or another country to the World Cup. Many times you will see they say something about Jamaica College. It's not a bad thing, but when they're putting me to say, listen up, I had on this, the success was there, so I need to be in a youth program. that is really trying to put me in a bracket or a category that I think I've superseded due to the fact that I would have achieved 10 years ago. The first coach to bring Jamaica to the final of the Gold Cup, winning the Caribbean Cup, promoting a team.
When they say we're the coach,
Yes.
people will say, but Winston was, Schaefer was the coach.
Coach Schaefer was a coach, but the Jamaica public know in terms of the responsibility that I would have had in that team at that point in time. So I was the assistant coach, but as a coach for the team, being about 31, 32 years old, beating Chile in Chile, they were the world number 3, just won the Copa America. We beat them in Chile, winning. I don't remember the name of the trophy.
Right.
As a professional coach overseas in Iran, winning different leagues, in Qatar, as a head coach, becoming an interim head coach at Zaco, the number 1 FIFA fan club, club in the world, 2025, and other achievements.
So you're saying.
So I find the direction of the conversation really interesting, and I would love to have a discussion with Coley about that, because what he's saying is that his role, when you think about it, was more influential than we think about assistant coaches, right? So we think about assistant coaches are just, if you think about Ferguson or Arteta, they just are additive. They're not the coach. They're not making the key decisions. And we know assistant coaches are the ones who run the sessions, right? And what he's basically saying is that my role was significant in each of these organizations. Because when he says he's the coach, it's almost as if he's saying he's the head coach, which I find interesting way to phrase it and term it, right? Because most people say you're the assistant coach, you're not the coach, so X, Y, Z. But we do know in some instances, and we hear this Arteta when he was at City, that's why Arsenal hired him, based on his history as captain of Arsenal or his career at PSG and Everton and all those other clubs. You have a profile you have built up. And I will also say something which is very important. When you work for a person who has a significant or huge profile, and that person knows talent, so I'm talking about Schaefer, and that person takes you anywhere they're going, it does say something about you. Now, the question arises, though, is that will that person create opportunities for you so you can assume the mantle in an organization? I have been fortunate to be a person who managed global teams. And I've always tried to find a way to move my team, the kids who work for me, I call them all kids because they're younger than me, to roles that marry with their abilities and marry with their desires. And I used to have one kid who worked for me who was like beyond brilliant. He makes me look good 24/7. And one day he and I had a conversation, you got to go. He's like, what are you talking about? You got to go. You're too good to not be doing a more significant role. Given your profile, we used to be in accounting and audit. He ended up being a portfolio manager, running a huge $1 billion desk. But he was just that brilliant. But you had to let him go, even though he made me look good 24/7. And he worked harder than anybody else, was smarter than everybody else. At some point, you have to make a decision that is unselfish to say, look, your potential is unlimited. So when I hear Cody talking about Schaefer, I'm thinking, did Schaefer ever position him for a head coaching job? Because I didn't really hear that throughout the conversation. And we'll hear more of this. Because if Schaefer's saying, wherever I go, you come with me, that means he values you. And what Coley is saying is that you guys, I'm just using a general term as you guys, may not realize what my abilities are, but my abilities manifest themselves with this coach and wherever I've been. And I may not have gotten the head coaching jobs in a big club, whatever. But as an assistant coach, the head coach realized that he could not actually function as effectively without me. And that's why he took me all the way from Jamaica to where he was going. Because sometimes people leave organizations, they're not bringing anyone with them. And people who leave organizations, just look at CEOs when they leave, they always bring 4, 5, 6, 7 people with them who are what they call rainmakers, because they can help them they trust them, they're not going to undermine them, and they're going to help them achieve their objective. So I thought it was really interesting in terms of how Coley So positioned himself, but also was able to relay, which you'll hear in the conversation, how Schaefer valued him.
You're winning Manning Cup with JC so many times, or winning several trophies so many times, has made the public pigeonhole you into thinking that you're an excellent youth coach. And you're saying your resume deserves to be thought of as much wider than that.
I mean, definitely. If I was with everything that I would have achieved, if I was in a different country, it wouldn't be the same.
All right, we're talking to Miguel Coley. Public.
Also, what he's saying is that when you spot up, I don't know junior coach. I want to run senior team. I outgrow the senior junior team. I don't see junior team at JC. I don't want to do no under 20. I don't want to do no under 17. I want to manage a country or a major club, not be somebody who is coming up through the ranks as junior and still being viewed as the same coach who coached JC. I have matured, I have grown, I have evolved, and I need to be treated that way, which frankly is the right way to go.
And give him a chance to ask some questions. Still 2:15, he'll be here till 3. We have a few more. Zidane has been quiet because I'm asking. Zidane will ask a few, and then we'll throw to the public. We're coming right back up. We have Miguel Coley in the man who was assistant to Speed over the in Mexico.
Yeah, my first one for you, Mr. Coley, in terms of the selection of the squad for the games, were you a part of that process, or was it that the head coach picked the team and then you just work as the assistant, or you were involved and said, listen, I like this player, I think you should pick this player, and it was accommodated?
It's a collaboration. We had several meetings in terms of the player selection.
Okay, interesting.
All right.
Interesting. So you also was a part of the scouting in terms of the new players that were brought in as well.
I say everything was a collaborative effort. Who has the final say has the final. But I would not say I was sitting and said this. No, I was not a part of, or we're not in the conversation that took place.
Okay. The announcement has come from the JFF president that he's no longer looking at going the overseas route. That we have gone that route for too long and we have not gotten the kind of result. Except for Tupperware, we've been predominantly coached by overseas people since then. And the public is of the belief, rightly or wrongly, that the name Rudolph Speed and Miguel Coley will be called upon again, not too long from now, to continue the job that you two started. In that eventuality, you get a call. Will you be the assistant coach again? What would your answer be?
Well, as I clearly outlined, I came here for the World Cup qualifiers, those 2 games. Anything going further in terms of the Jamaica football, with the Jamaica Football Federation, I've not had any thought. We have not met in terms of myself and my team in terms of how do we approach something like this. I am really at this moment disappointed and gutted, and just want to use the time just to reflect and hope as soon as possible we can have an year in which we meet again as a staff to analyze what took place and how we move forward.
All right, the public of Jamaica, any questions now?
So I find that interesting, people, because we heard the president came out and talked about Rudolph Speed and Coley being the persons that he would like to be coaches for the national team. And if we look across the island, if Whitmore is not being considered and we only go local, then it seems by default that either Rudolph and or Coley would be the coach, assistant coach. I don't think Rudolph is going to be assistant coach for anybody. But because we like to say in Jamaica that Rudolph is the most qualified person. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't think Rudolph is more qualified than Whitmore. If you do a combination of classroom and international experience for the national team. Coley's an interesting one. He have the licenses, so he's the highest licensed qualified coach in Jamaica. We seem to spend a lot of time now and effort and thought around the licensing process and the cachet that comes with being a pro licensed coach, which Coley has. And he also has international experience, not in terms of coaching national team, but coaching outside the country. And there's something to be said for leaving your domain leaving the comfort of your environment, going someplace else, learning different way of coaching, training players of different temperaments, how to manage people. That's very important outside your culture, because the Jamaica team is not just one-dimensional in terms of persons who are local and born in Jamaica, but it does have diaspora, and we'll talk about that too. So it does beg the question, actually, is Coley interested in being the assistant or the head coach? And if he only wants a head coach, where do we go from here? Since the president seemed to want him to be part of the coaching process going forward. And the question also is, most of this load, remember they can't hear me. Wham to Marion Garden. Because Marion Garden, we did a long time now. Wham to Marion Garden people. Don't just lash him, right?
And even the people who called before, once it's a Coley-related matter, we will allow you to ask one question. We don't have time to ask two like we did when Speed was here. So we can take one look at somebody's there. All right. Hello.
Gentlemen.
Yes, this is Pioneer.
David.
All right. I've been holding for about 40 minutes before Mr. Coley came on here.
Okay.
I called to address some stuff I heard you gentlemen talking about.
All right.
Am I allowed to?
By the way, people, so when people say them out, we had 40 minutes at Jamaica, you know. So when you lose some credit, so when you call from foreign at 20 cents a minute, you know. So you can do the calculation if you wait like an hour and you call every time. Just have to say that.
Do that.
Call back after 3.
Call back after
3. So you can ask a question and then you can call back after 3.
And if him call back, give Pioneer the first preference, since he was holding. But between now and 3 o'clock when Coley has to leave, it's just a question for Mr. Coley. And then...
All right. So can I just make a statement to Mr. Coley?
No, Pioneer. We're working with the rules. Ask a question. And then at 3 o'clock you can call and you can get the whole hour if you think the call is worth. All right, you're working with that?
So instead of a question, can I address a statement to Mr. Coley?
All right, Pioneer, call me back after 3 o'clock. Call me back after 3 o'clock. Pioneer is not working with the plan, as usual. All right, so people, remember the rule is you can ask a question of Mr. Coley between now and 3 o'clock, even if you have called before.
Hey, people, so you see what we have to deal with Simon. I saw it going on, people. It's very hard enough. Especially when you want to preface a question with something, and then I say, ask a question. You can't. At this time, it's a little bit better in terms of question prefacing. But all they want to do is just stay in this little box, and it's hard to do when the substance of your question may be informed by how you preface the question. I'm not sure why they don't understand that. I don't disagree that time is limited and we're getting as much calling as possible. But you put me in this little bucket, it's very hard. Even though I did call in for one question, by the way.
After 3 o'clock, you can come in and do what we do on Sports Desk. Pioneer was not prepared to work with that. We move on. All right, hello.
Hey, greetings, gentlemen.
With the preacher.
Yeah, man. Give thanks. Give thanks, Mr. Coley.
Yeah, man, blessings.
It says one question, right?
One question.
All right. The statistics show that Jamaica had more possession than DR. However, Jamaica was unable to create a lot of goal scoring opportunities. In your capacity as the assistant head coach on the sidelines, how did the coaching staff set up the team to score? We didn't get the impression that there was any path to scoring for Jamaica. So we removed our number 9 in the 75th minute and play without an out striker for the remainder of the game. What was the strategy or tactic for Jamaica to get a goal in that DR game?
All right. Preacher, thanks for cooperating. You did what the host asked. One question. You've put Miguel on the spot. You also can call back after 3 o'clock. Yeah, Miguel. Yeah,
man, a very good question. I will address the fact that we had more possession. But it was where we had more possession, especially in the latter part of the game. We wanted to be much more vertical in the game, but in terms of in the last part, you said that we wanted a goal. We thought it was best that we go around the team. If you notice, we create a lot of 1v1 situation. Maybe the crosses could have been better. We wanted, I think, more pullback rather than going straight across the goal. But it was evident that we were creating some 1v1 situation, especially with Cephas on the right side.
There were a lot of people who felt that Cephas should never have played straight through the middle at any point. and that the coaching staff, well, more the head coach than yourself though. But what say you to having Cephas playing as the number 9 for a while before he crossed over to the wing?
Well, as I said, these are some discussion that we need to have in-house.
In-house.
Yeah, in terms of the overall game. But like to answer the question to Preacher, was that we thought it was best to create some 1v1 on the sides and then put quality crosses. Well, many times the crosses were, as you know, not desired, the desired crosses that we needed, but that was the idea. Because if you notice, Congo are not a strong attacking unit, but in terms of defense, they are a very good defense, especially closing inside of the middle.
All right. Anybody else has a...
So I have comments on that, actually. So there's a lot of questions asked as to why Cephas played to the middle. I didn't have a problem with Cephas playing. I had Cephas playing as a second striker, and us playing a 4-4-2 or 3-5-2, whatever we want to play, at least. Because I don't... It's what people fail to realize. I'm going to get to that. First of all, I think... I hate to say this, and it's going to sound harsh. I think the in-game management could have been much better. I think they fell down material in in-game management for a number of reasons. So I didn't see Cephas burning Wan-Bissaka one-on-one. But even though I think Campbell gave him a torrid time when he had a chance to. But when I watched Cephas against Trinidad, against Curacao, two of the better teams, he was good against Nigeria in the Unity Cup, which was friendly. But when the game got serious in the Gold Cup or Trinidad or against Curacao, he didn't burn those right or left back, the right back one-on-one. No time I can remember. Right? Maybe servers was poor, but he didn't burn. So I didn't see Cephas on the left, which is his favorite position, frankly, dominating. I thought Campbell played really well and should not have been changed. We took off the 3 midfielders. We took off Kadamarti, and we took off Campbell, right? And I think we took somebody else out. I took off Webster. But the first 3 changes were about the midfield. And I think Speed said they plan to take off Dexter Daps or Bobby Reed early. Or, he was plan change. Not necessarily early, but a plan change. Here's where I saw the problem, people. And it was so obvious. And I think the assistant coaches, I must say this, or whoever's doing the analysis, the data person, let Rudolph down, or Rudolph let himself down. If you watch that game, the 2 main changes to be made was Kadamarti and Bailey. They were both very, very poor. In fact, Speecher took off Congo's best player, who was Bailey. And I'm not being facetious. I'm dead serious. I showed the stats on multiple shows of Bailey, how poor he was. He played 120 minutes. I think Kadamarti played 70-something minutes. Kadamarti should not be on the field. He was poor. Right? Campbell was very good. Campbell got replaced by Mason Clark. And then Cephas got put in the middle and then got put outside. There's no way in God's world Bailey should have ended up playing 120 minutes. No way, Jose. And the stats prove that out. So that was poor management. Second, even though I was fine with the team that was picked, I thought Latibeaudiere should have played beside Pinnock and put the kid from Inter Miami as a right back. Ian Frey as a right back. And I watched Lati played the other day against for Coventry when they played Hull. King kicked with the ball. We said we know 4 of 19 at the games kicking with the ball. And it wasn't like he was such brilliant defensively. And granted, we didn't give up a goal until extra time. So you could say, you know what? The defense was decent or good because we didn't give up a goal against New Caledonia. We gave up a goal in extra time. So it worked out well. But there's also we talk about penetration and the offensive component. When Bailey gave the ball away 30 times and King gave the ball away 24 times, 15 on long passes, that's 54 giveaways between 2 players. And if you're a coach, you have to be thinking about the eye test, which everybody seems to be focused on the eye test. You can also focus on the stats test. It's 2 ways of now assessing. That's why we talk about, Cincinnati having iPad when iPad and what they do with them, iPad when they played against them. Because somebody's there checking the information and say, Coach, did you know this? Did you know that, Coach? What you see with the eye sometimes, your brain is not registering certain things. It's not focused on a given player. The stats focus on a given player. So that should have not been the case. And it was the case, and it was disappointing. So those are the 3 things, which is, I think King even though he wasn't bad player, but he was kicking the ball away too much. Bailey should not have been on the field. Campbell should have stayed on the field. Cephas probably should have gone out wide. And then, as someone mentioned before, we were lacking in center forward because if you brought Fuller, where you bring Fuller if you're not going to play him? That's center forward. And Jamal Lowe, to me, didn't seem up to it based on the first game with a small sample size. So anyway, it's a long way of saying I think the coach has made some mistake. But we are Monday morning quarterbacks, right? You can say things in the hindsight of what was done. But to me, there's some mistakes were made. And it's a smart, Coley says we got to go look at things. I infer from what he's saying that in hindsight, they realize some mistakes were made.
Question. It's 615-2841. Yeah. And I tell you, even those who have called before, call and ask the one question. After 3 o'clock, when Miguel has to leave, then we can do sports testing. Back on line. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, who is?
CC, boy, I forgot my credit to call back in because...
CC, ask your question, please.
No, I was calling directly for one specific reason. No, may I forgot.
All right, CC, we talk after 3. Thank you very much, CC.
No, I'm just going to ask my question. I'm going to get to call back till tomorrow. But anyway,
yeah.
My question is this, Miguel Coley. And it's one question, you know. So, in terms of the strategy behind the substitutions, I noticed Congo was making substitutions for like players, but somewhere along the line, we weren't necessarily replicating that. Can you explain to me what was the strategy behind the substitutions, and are you the most qualified coach, local coach?
All right. What was the second part? Are you the most qualified local coach? Was that
local
what he said? Yeah. All right, CC, you're cooperating. I know credit is not your problem. Call us back after 3 o'clock.
None at all.
CC just being difficult. But call back after 3 o'clock. What was the question? Why weren't we making like for like substitutions, and are you the most qualified local coach?
Well, in terms of the substitution, different from maybe CFAS, many of the changes were force change because many of the players were cramping up. You saw Hayden, you saw Palmer, and Bobby Reed. Those players were cramping up at the time, and we thought, we had to make those changes in the team. So in terms of I think it was easier for Congo to make changes in terms of for tactical situations, but we had to move players because they were injured.
They were not healthy. Why were we suffering more from cramps than the Congo team? What would you attribute that to?
I'm not sure, but our players, I don't know. That is something that we have to look at.
Good. Are you the most?
World Cup hope.
I think that comment is not accurate. The entire Congo midfield was replaced. Congo made 6 changes. Half of them were also cramping up. The ref was cramping up. What are we talking about? That has nothing to do with the individual players. It's the weather. And you'll see that in the World Cup also. That's why they have hydration breaks. Because you know the weather is awful, actually. And in Mexico, it's very, very difficult this time of the year. And the entire Sadiki, all the midfielders for Congo were replaced by extra time. So I wouldn't blame it on the players and what was wrong there. It was more of the conditions that forced that. When you see referee get substituted, then you know things are right.
As it relates to Jamaica, it was after the whole devastation of Melissa.
Yeah,
I believe Jamaica was in a state in which they needed hope. And we were on the cusp of going to the World Cup.
Sorry, people. I messed up. I always do that.
Best players that is available. Any country would want them.
Wait. No, we're not there.
All right, so we have Miguel.
On the line, we weren't necessarily.
So that was CC. I apologize.
Well, in terms of the substitution, different from maybe CFAS, many of the changes were force change because many of the players were cramping up. You saw Hayden. You saw Palmer and Bobby Reed. Those players were cramping up at the time, and we thought, we had to make those changes in the team. So in terms of I think it was easier for Congo to make changes in terms of for tactical situations, but we had to move players because they were injured.
They were not healthy. Why were we suffering more from cramps than the Congo team? What would you attribute that to?
I'm not sure, but our players, I don't know. That is something that we have to look at.
Good. Are you the most qualified local coach? That was part B of CC's question.
Well, my qualification would be that I have a pro license. What does that make me? I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. All right. All right, so here with me.
You'll be up there if there's a
Hey, Coley, sure I'm Jamaican. And Jamaicans say my pro license. If I'm the only locally born Jamaican or pro license, now say me, but some Jamaican who me know, everybody have to know that. And they must say what the qualification criteria you use. If I say a pro license, that means I'm the only pro. That means I'm the most qualified. And me hear some people say, hey, CC, you're bad enough, CC, you're bad enough, CC. Because we are here this continued, hey, CC, you're bad enough. We hear this continuing argument about who's the most qualified person in Jamaica. And it was historically said it was Rudolph Speed. I have said this with more, some people say Rudolph Speed, given his accomplishment in the Caribbean with Cavaliers and going to 2 CONCACAF, round of 16, I guess, automatic. But now, what we hear, and him also know a national coach, CC threw the question out there, almost like a rhetorical question in the people. And I watch CC, they say, what the most qualified. Coley didn't take the bait, all right? He's very, very smart, by the way. That's why you leave the country and go improve yourself, much more worldly. You know, go answer with the ego. You answer with some humility, which is very obvious and very good, by the way.
anybody else with a pro license.
Yeah.
So there's no more qualified coach than him. Maybe you have people who are as qualified, if you know what I mean.
No, I don't know what you mean. Explain.
Maybe you have somebody else with a pro license as well.
Yeah.
But nobody else has above a pro license.
Okay.
As a Jamaican. So you can be as qualified as him, but not more qualified.
All right. I get the point. Yeah. All right. So we have Miguel Coley for the next 27 minutes. Miguel, one of the things you said to me last night that absolutely stood out for me is that countries, before they appoint a coach, they usually appoint a coach that fit the system, the structure, style of play that country has, then determine which coach would best fit their own style. You want to elaborate on that?
Well, it's universal now that when seeking a head coach, you have already your players. You want to find a coach that can play the type of football that you identify with. Mm-hmm. That is very, very important. Many clubs, even my club at Man United now, would have strayed from that. They're choosing coaches because they are winning like that, and it doesn't work. Yeah. Because your identity is your identity. Right. And so it's always important that you look around and see the coach that fits your style of play. The Bayern Munich could have looked at a coach who fits their style of play and then look for that coach. And even doing that, some clubs or some countries, they do make mistakes. Right. In terms of their scouting for such coach.
So what you're saying is before Jamaica decides who their next coach will be, they first need to look at our own identity as a national team.
I think that's very important.
And then determine what coach fits that identity.
I think that's very important.
But what if we don't have no identity?
What if we don't have an identity? Well, it's a time, it's another window in terms of a World Cup qualification. Mm-hmm. That would have given us time. And when I say us, I mean not only the Jamaica Football Federation, the technical people, but Jamaican Coaching Association, people who are have the knowledge to come together. Yeah. And really, try to put Jamaica football first, regardless of your ego, regardless of whatever you have achieved. Right. But sit at the table and look the best way to go forward with salient points, research to say, look here, this fits Jamaica better than this, and we can agree, we can disagree, and we can move on.
And then you choose a coach based on who you think best ticks the boxes for that philosophy.
Well, that's from my standpoint.
Right.
Other person may have different way, and it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
So when I hear Coley say that, I thought about a couple of things. One is, I don't think the style of play, the identity will manifest itself before the 2030 World Cup. It may, but if you do it, you have to have like a short-term, medium-term, and long-term plan. So what do I mean? For the Reggae Boyz in the 2030 World Cup, and qualifications start next year, you can come up with an identity and style of play and try to impart that to the players over a series of windows in terms of how you want to play the football. But for the younger kids coming through, it's going to take a number of years for Jamaica to really imprint and embed how it wants to play football. Now, I'll say a couple of things. One on that. One is, I keep hearing this thing about we're big, we're fast, we're strong. After a while, it gets a little bit annoying. It's like, say, you're fast, but you can't think. You're fast, but you don't have intellect. Because it's basically saying we should just kick the ball down the field and play transition football and try to go score as quickly as possible, versus saying we need to develop the players technically, make them technically proficient, and whatever attributes we have that they can differentiate us, we should leverage it. But if you can't produce midfielders, like you're fast, you want to be and just kick the ball and lose the ball, it's not going to make no sense. The ball can just get from the defense to the forward that King tried to do and never gets there. It has to go through each of the different states, right? It has to go from the defense to the midfield to the forwards. That's how the game should be played. Because the middle is the belly, is what the core that hold you up. And right now we're struggling with that.
We understand. What's your views on a lot of Jamaicans? They have issues with heritage players. They say there are too many coming. What's your views on the overall? That overall.
The balance is important. You know, we have to.
This is very important. You Coley start with a balance. Coley, I'll take the task to this. This is very important, people. Listen to this part of the conversation. Because, we've been going back and forth about heritage, foreigner, England ban, reject, whatever you want to use. This is very important.
To strike a balance. And at the same time, we need the best players that is available. Any country would want the best players. And it's debatable. It's subjective, definitely. But we can make it a bit more objective based on the statistics, based on the players that we have here. And when it comes to our local players, it's more than just selecting them to play for the country. We're changing lives. Mm-hmm. So when a young man in Waterhouse, a young man in Tivoli get an opportunity, we're really changing the whole dynamic of their surrounding, and the people who they interact with, the people who they support, the people who are dependent on them. Mm-hmm. And we have that obligation as national coaches.
To look to when you say have that obligation, I want you to elaborate a little.
And these are my personal views.
Yes.
What I mean is that we must have at some point develop players. Well, not develop, but give players exposure so they can go to the next level. For the sake of inspiration, for the sake of finding that quality player or that diamond in the rough to go out there and impact the entire world.
All right. The public now.
So you hear that, right? From what I'm hearing from Coley, to be honest, and I'd love to speak to him at some point, his initial conversation is about, I don't want to use the term bossa youth. It seemed a little bit blasé. He's saying the kids that come from desperate or destitute situation, they're giving them being given an opportunity to play at the highest level. Not only supports them, but their family and others in that community, right? Give them hope. And yeah, there's some credence to that. So when I hear him, he never really addressed what does a balance truly mean, but the inference from the balance, the inference is that you got to have local and overseas based players in the team, right? That's what I'm hearing from the balance. It wasn't explicit like that, but the way he talked around it suggests that he's saying that you have to give exposure to the kid. Now, I don't know if the national senior team give exposure. We already have a quota system, which is discriminatory, by the way, in the junior ranks for the JFF. In the JFF Constitution says they don't discriminate. It does, because the citizens who are under 20 and under 17, so we can't get in the team of the into the better than locally born players because of that quota system. So you see, you got to give exposure to someone in the senior team. Is that exposure based on merit or where you were born? And he said, you try to find a diamond in the rough. It's really interesting. But listen more as you go through this, because I think it's interesting.
We're back with you. One question. Let's follow the instructions. One question to Mr. Coley. At 3 o'clock, you can call back and get your regular 5 minutes. Back on line, Miss B? Yeah. Hello. Hello. Something happened here, Miss B. We're not getting the person through. Hello? Try another line.
All right, back to the heritage players, because it can be difficult to determine whether a player playing in the JPL versus a player playing in the championship, which is better, because we tend to want to lean towards he's playing at a higher level and he's doing reasonably well. It's likely that he's better. How difficult it is to make the decision to look to see, well, while this player is playing in the JPL, I still think he could be more impactful for Jamaica at international level. How difficult is that decision to make?
It can be a difficult decision, but it goes back to what the coach needs at the time. It goes back to the age of the player. Mm-hmm. So, for example, maybe there's a player in, say, for example, England or America. He's maybe 28 years old or 29. And I have a player maybe with the same ability. And as a coach, you do the eye test. Yes. You know quality. He may be 18 years old. As a coach, I would be more, inclined to look at the 18-year-old young diamond in the rough for future progress and, like that.
Yeah.
So Zinedine asked a question about how do you judge a player given the different levels? And let's be clear on this. The championship in England is about, if I'm not mistaken, probably in the top 10, probably about 6 or maybe a bit more, but they're in the top 10 in terms of world football. The JPL is number 10 in CONCACAF and about 120 or 30 in the world. Now, Coley talked about the eye test. I am not sure how your eyes can give you clear, definitive perspective in doing a comparative between a championship player, where the level of competition is so much higher, and somebody in the JPL. So, for example, if you saw a McGee or a Dixon or a King or all those players like Ming, all those players look really good in the JPL. A Busy Atkins look good in JPL. Yet when they leave the shores and go overseas and play, most of them, they don't get up to even championship level. Look at Dixon, for example. Look at King, who's now on the bench for St. Mirren. Look at Busy Atkins, where's the USL, right? So how do you do the comparison with a championship team and player when it's very hard to discern, given the level of competition, how good the person is playing in JPL? I think what Jamaica need to consider is, are there other mechanisms that you can utilize in terms of level of competition to gauge the ability of those, if you want to call them diamond in the rough, a person who seems to have significant potential, or differentiators playing locally? How do you get them exposure, not necessarily through the national team, to face stiffer competition so you can make a better informed decision about their capabilities, about their potential, about their abilities? Because when you play inferior competition, it's hard to discern and judge how good you really are. You'll be better than the competition, much better, but can you operate at a different level, given the requirements for that level?
What's your thoughts on Whisper as a talent? Because you would have seen some of the big talents, the young talents in recent years in Jamaica. Your thoughts on Whisper?
No, he's a good player. I remember 2 years ago, I met two persons going to Qatar because there were some interest in terms of him probably coming there to play as a young elite player with the hope of probably playing for 5 years and gaining a Qatar passport. So I know that he's a quality player.
Yeah.
Did anybody pick that up, people? Amial one pick that up, exactly what he was saying. Did you guys pick up what he was saying about Whisper? Didn't we hear that information when Whisper was first going to do his tour as to where he wants to be? So if I gather what he was saying, and I want to misinterpret what he was saying, he's saying Whisper was hoping to play in Qatar, enough money there. So if you can get a passport, does that mean he wanted to play for Qatar? Was Qatar buys talent, just like how Turkey bought some of our track and field athletes, maybe field athletes, when you say track. They buy players, So from what he's basically saying, that there were things being done for Whisper to get the opportunity to play in Qatar and probably for Qatar. We heard about that before. I think it just got confirmed. So all these people talking about, because remember when Beatty was supposed to play for Jamaica way back when? And there was conversation that it has to be a package deal between him and Kyle to play for Jamaica, or else him now play. And some suggestion way back when he said he play for England. And now we're thinking about Whisper in another country because of money. So it's a money thing. So this commitment, this patriotism, this nationalism only applies to diaspora players. Only them not get no apply. Because diaspora players ain't get them play for Jamaica, they don't get no money now. No, Noseworthy probably career totally mashed up because of Jamaica, he's not getting none from Jamaica. So this concept, now I know it's old news, but he just reiterated the old news. I know it's old news, but it wasn't confirmed old news to me. It wasn't confirmed. We didn't get it from the horse's mouth per se. And we hear what he's saying here now. And the fact of the matter is, we're going to go back to revisionist history because it's important. There's some people walk around with their chests out and say it's all about Jamaica, when we know it's all about them, not Jamaica. And because they live in Jamaica and then bring 2 couple people, it's all about them. It ain't about Jamaica. It's about the dollars or the pounds or whatever currencies in Qatar.
We take one more. All right. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Aubrey, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
Oh, George. How you do, George?
Yes, sir.
George from Forest.
George, Jamaica.
Yeah, man.
Cool. I got a question.
Yeah.
The heart of Jamaica is always going to be around the vibe kind of thing. In my opinion, I think if you had Cephas, Bowser, Whisper, Low on the field with heart, would have won this game and easily qualify for the World Cup. What's your view around the exclusion of some of those players and not having them playing full-time or more minutes? What's the reason? You had Cephas, Bowser, Whisper, Low on the field with heart.
By the way, people, those 4 players he mentioned, I'm not sure about, I can't remember about Low, but all those forwards, Whisper, Dixon, Nicholson, and Whisper were on the field at the same time against Curacao. We must have won that game.
Would have won this game and easily qualify for the World Cup. What's your view around the exclusion of some of those players and not having them playing full-time or more minutes? What's the reason? How can you justify that?
All right. So George's question is, should we have had more? He used the word vibes.
Mhm.
Whisper, the Bowser, the Dixon, which other name? Nana Lowell. Would those have made a difference in terms of vibes and heart?
No, the names that they call are players who are very valuable to the team, definitely. To say that it could be a different outcome, it's a lot of speculation. Those players, what I can say to answer your question as diplomatic as possible, is that those players would have played prior in the probably against, maybe not Low, but in Trinidad. Right. When we draw 1-1, they had played at the stadium. Curacao, where we finished 0-0. So it's very subjective, and it's a matter of result. We say this and we say that, but those are quite players, and maybe on a different day, given the opportunity, they could, and maybe not, because it's a game of football.
All right, so that's cool. As he said, diplomatic answer to that question.
Perception.
How are we gonna back on line? 615-2841. We go back on line. Cool, we'll be here for
and to be fair to the 2 central defenders, against Curacao we did not concede.
Right.
And against New Caledonia we did not concede, and we only conceded in extra time against Congo. So I don't think defensively we had a lot of issues. So I don't know why George keep asking for Low when defensively we have been fine. We've been fine defensively.
All right, let's hear one more question from the public. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes,
yeah, man.
We are.
Who is Chateau?
No, this is Kranky.
Oh, Kranky. Yeah, what's your question?
Can you elaborate on the concept of what balance entails? Since all the heritage players would have been citizens, and therefore should have the same rights and privilege as any Jamaican, that's where they're born. So can you expand upon the balance concept?
All right.
Well, the balance concept.
So I think meritocracy is what we focus on in life. Meritocracy, not balance.
All right. So that's Cranky's question.
Yeah, in terms of balance, it's in terms of the team. What makes the team as balanced as possible? So it's not about having 5 or 6 or 10 to 11, but balance in terms of making the team as cohesive as possible. Mm-hmm. So that's what balance is.
All right. We are.
Me I said it. Coley, you fluffed that question there. Me not telling you fluffy question. Trust me, you're fluffy. But keep going.
Wherever the players come from. So you're saying you're looking for quality. And defense, attack, midfield, left side, right side. You want that balance.
Yes.
And you'll get that balance wherever they are.
So I both Zinedine and Arville have to do a better job. They're calling out of when those situations occur, think about what was said before and what is said now, and then collate the two to figure out, did they marry up? Did they marry up? That's not what Coley said earlier. He talked about opportunities. He talked about giving kids opportunities and all that as part of the balance question. So we can't say it's meritocracy. If you have meritocracy, you may never give a kid a chance. You may never bust a youth. So we can't say meritocracy and balance are equivalent because they're not.
Definitely.
We continue with Miguel Coley for another 10, 11 minutes. We go straight back to the lines. Hello.
You okay?
Yes, man.
Driver, man. Greetings.
Driver, what you do? Wait, don't stop at all, man. Long time driver, man. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, sir.
Yeah, everything in one,
Yeah.
Almost a year. But anyway, Mr. Coley, draw me out. Yeah. Pardon my ignorance, I wasn't listening to I wasn't listening to the entire program. So pardon my ignorance if I asked the question that was asked before. You spoke about identity. Now, it's kind of a two-part question. Yeah. So my question is, do you think you fit that bill in terms of Jamaica's identity, the way we play football or how we like to play? And if so, if asked to be the head coach, because the Unity Cup is coming up shortly, when is it? May?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have much time, sorry?
Yes, it's me.
All right.
If asked to take on the job as head coach, would you?
All right. Cool, driver. Call us back if you can. So the question is, do you think your style of coaching suits what you think our identity should be? I don't know. Something similar to that. All right.
It's kind of a two-part question.
All right. Yeah, driver, he's about to respond. So hang up and listen.
Yeah. Thanks for your question, driver. First of all, I'm not here to advocate to be the head coach of the national team. I believe, though, that my style of coaching, that's why it has always been so successful in Jamaica, is aligned to how I think Jamaica best play going forward. If I should be given the job as the head coach, would I say yes? Mm-hmm. As I said before, at this point in time, those questions I would want to answer and maybe next 2 weeks when I meet with my agent and team in terms of that.
Because at this point in time, you are not in the Middle East anymore. Are you job hunting at the moment?
I'm not really job hunting. I'm looking forward.
Hey, people, see that people? So when you become diaspora and you go Middle East and the Qatar, oil country, Iraq, oil country, and I call you a Coley, you don't have a job hunt, Your pocket's strong. You don't have a job hunt. You take a job, you don't rush down nobody's job.
Go to the World Cup. Maybe I do something in media during that time.
Right.
But in terms of job hunting to find a job in the Middle East, not for now, but maybe for the next season.
For the next season. All right. So
the media job when the World Cup is going, are you talking about in Jamaica?
In Jamaica, in the States, maybe in Qatar.
Man, welcome to Europe. Can I not go turn Miguel Coley down?
No. Especially but for somebody who has had so much experience working in the Middle East, I think, and as a man with that kind of
Iran,
you will get.
It seems as Iran will be at the World Cup and all will be well.
I think 3 countries that I coach, they're in the World Cup: Qatar,
Iran,
Iraq.
You'll be the perfect man for that.
Countries that you have coached in. I don't want people to say things that you have coached. Because on this program, them not drop them catch there, The bright people show us something, Not the little don't see something when you may hear and see. Yeah. Which is probably why you're here. And not somebody don't's place. Anyway, and we're back online. We're behaving yourself.
Yep. Yeah, man.
What's your question? Who is this now? Prophet, get me a question and let's roll.
All right, Mr. Coley, I will always talk about templates. I'm going to ask you my first question. Do you think that Jamaica using overseas-based players, specifically English-based players,
was actually a template back in '98, or it was just something that Mr. Simoes used to fill some gaps in the team? And my second question is, if you should be the next head coach of Jamaica, does this current criteria that was used by the interim head coach, will you be continuing with something like that, or will you be picking players based upon other criteria such as their attitude towards playing for the nation, etc.?
All right, Prophet. First of all,
who they actually are.
First of all, Prophet, just squeeze past the rule, and ask 2 questions instead of 1. Driver General says a 2-part question, but it's 1 question. But because they're not getting no trouble, got the troublemaker, they me draw the rule out and fast fire. Prophet, you squeeze it, but I go and allow it. You want to take on those 2?
Yeah, very good question, Prophet.
Yeah,
especially the first one. Do I think that's the template?
Hang up, Prophet. Listen to the answer on the radio.
Hang up and listen to the answer.
Yes, that's a very good question. In terms of the template, I think even during the campaign, I think Rene Simoes were still working on the template, and the template can only be in the final stage because it would be the first that Jamaica would have arrived at the World Cup. So hence, after the World Cup, we could say, look here, this is a template.
Right.
And to answer that question then, with saying all of that, would be that the template would be, we have to find the best mix, the best balance that makes the team as potent and as best as possible.
Right. All right. The second part of the question, which is the most troublesome part. Would you agree with the criteria for selection as the previous head coach?
And what I can say about a criteria, nothing is set in stone. A criteria is based on can be individual or a collective group, and there are many things from that criteria definitely that I would have continued in terms of how the selection took place. But from my as a person, as a coach, there are other factors that I will definitely look at.
All right. Good answer.
Yeah, great answer, actually.
Next question from the next member of the public.
So you've heard my views on the criteria. I think the criteria, as Coley's are hinting to, and they must have thought about it, it needs to be changed. Not the conditions, as they call it. Kind of interesting in terms of criteria and conditions, but the criteria about having contract with top 20 team, playing for the top team in the league, or the highest level in a given country, and then being grandfathered if you play for the Reggae Boyz, they got to revisit those criteria. I don't. Some of them are like almost contradictory. The conditions, I think, can stand up more to scrutiny. I don't think the criteria and or the policy, as they call it, in that document that they provided to the public at the news conference, it doesn't age well.
Might as well, just say no, ask a 2-part question. Generally talk like drive. Is all this stuff. Hello? No, but that line, I don't know. That line doesn't seem to be good. And we have 5 minutes. We hope to get maybe 2 calls in this segment. Hello?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Chuck.
Yes, Chuck. How you do?
Good afternoon to you.
Take off the something for the Bluetooth, Chuck, man, and talk to you straight, man.
I'm here, right. With police. All right.
It's bright and safe.
Coach.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone was to ask you to, what I call it now, tell us what is the Jamaican style of play. What would you tell us? Would you be able to identify the style of play that we play as a country?
Brilliant question, Chuck. What is our identity? I was about to ask you, you keep talking about the identity. What exactly is it? Good question, Chuck. You sound better than you sound yesterday. Very good question. Maybe the best question that has been asked so far. Your response to that.
Yes, and what I believe is our identity is one that allows creativity
Yeah.
Especially in the final third of the game. It is one that doesn't prolong a lot of passes around the back, but one that seeks to be vertical and try to play to the third as quickly as possible and as slow as necessary.
As quickly as possible
and as slow
as necessary.
Yeah.
Explain it.
But it is about assessing the press, assessing the situation. When can we go as quickly? When can we go as slow as possible? Because it's about the team. The team, you react sometime to the team and you allow the team to react to you. So you allow the player to think. One that allows put our attacking players at the center and the focal point of our football. With the opportunity for midfield to join when it comes in terms of attack. In terms of defending, it should be one that when we lose the ball, we try to win the ball as much as possible, be very aggressive, be very in the face of the opponent, in the true Jamaican spirit.
So aggressive in your face defending, as direct as possible to the people up front, not a lot of passing on at the back.
Not, as I said, going to the line as quickly as possible. And
when you say the line, what do you mean?
All right, and this is underground. I don't mean in terms of proposing the long ball like this, but in terms of how I play, my way is always go inside, outside, back, inside combination, run behind, put the cross, maybe. Depending on the weakness of the opponent, is it behind in the back post or is it pull back on the penalty spot and finish the action? Mm-hmm. So I always say that the Jamaica football is one in which we seek to break the lines. I have good players in offering positions where we can play combination, especially in the middle. I say this to say that I believe that was what René Simons did, in which you'd have put a lot of players, especially inside the field, where we could make combination, put the ball outside, put a cross ball or run behind, and allow our players to be as creative as possible, especially in the final third.
All right. Maybe one more, Miss B.
Or we'll say, all right, like you understand a word the man say. People, you remind me of, it's going to sound horrible, and I'm not being going against any race. It's like I used to have a team in Japan, right? And I used to go to Japan, and the English wasn't that great. And you talk to some people, they'll say yes, but it didn't really mean yes. They're saying yes because they don't want you to think that they don't understand. I'm not calling out the Japanese because they're great people, and I had a great time there. But they say yes, but they really didn't really understand what you're saying. Coley said a lot. And Orville says, okay, well, me no see you don't have one clue in my tablet. Okay, so that what means, what Coley said, about 4 past me, or 5 past me, you know. Me go inside, me I go back outside, then me I go down the wing and me I cross it. That's what I hear. Or me have a combination in the middle. I don't even know what that means. When you break it down, yeah, play a transition football, yes, yeah, play. So like a transition football team, can you get the ball up field as quick as possible. Like you see your PSG play sometime. They can bring up slowly if they need to, but them have speed and skill, they want to get the ball up field as quick as possible. So them go inside sometime, Dembele, Quattroslavia, what his name is, or Duque, or Duce, when call him, you're gone at the races, right? If the team allow you to play transition football, they're playing high, they're pressing you, it makes it even easier. But I'm not sure we totally get what Coley's saying. And I'm sorry, people, I am not buying that we're faster than everybody else. The track and field athletes are, our players aren't. Apart from Cephas, who was fast on the team? We're run by nobody. That ain't happening. I think sometimes, and that's why the football don't get developed really well. We haven't taken the time to develop our players technically so they can be comfortable in the ball. The ball can be like their wife or their girlfriend. They're not afraid of the ball. They always want the ball like a Ravel Morrison. And when they get the ball, they know what to do with it. And as he said, you have to be able to think. You want to think football. Now, I would think you want to slow the game down a little bit to improve the thinking, and then you speed it up when you get proficient at it.
Send it through. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, ask your question. Who is this, by the way?
Conroy Soybe.
Conroy.
How are you doing, Conroy?
Well, cool. I draw no phone right now.
Mr. Coley.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
I always wanted to know this. Jamaica, can't Jamaica find a full football squad inland to prepare? We couldn't find a full team within country, within all the parishes. We couldn't put together a football team to play for the World Cup without going overseas. And was the instruction in the locker room to King to clear the ball as much as possible up to that guy Calamarte?
All right, Conrad. Those are is everybody asked two-part question. Allow Coley to answer those final two questions. Why can't we play with a completely local based
or Jamaican born?
Or Jamaican born, because some of the Jamaican born would be playing elsewhere. But why do we have to rely on people not born in Jamaica? Can we play a fully Jamaican born squad?
Well, how I interpreted the question first was that can we go to the different parishes and choose players and have just a local team? We can, but in terms of the quality that needed to reach the levels and to go to the World Cup, it's really impossible.
Can we get to the World Cup without using overseas born?
May I play it again? You hear what the man say, people? You hear what the man say? May I try to play it again? It's very important. Let me see what Coley just say. I go back to Coley comment, but I'm just saying what I got. I'm going to frame that one there. I'm going to click that one there.
Conrad. Those are
click that one there after the man done.
Everybody asked two-part.
Man said them can have just locally born players.
Allow Coley to answer those final two questions. Why can't we play with a completely local based
or Jamaican born?
Or Jamaican born, because some of the Jamaican born would be playing elsewhere. But why do we have to rely on people not born in Jamaica? Can we play a fully Jamaican born squad?
Well, how I interpreted the question first was that can we go to the different parishes and choose players and have just a local team? We can, but in terms of the quality that needed to reach the levels and to go to the World Cup, it's really impossible.
Can we get to the World Cup without using overseas born players?
I don't want to get involved in terms of listen up. Overseas versus Jamaican. Right. Once you're Jamaican, you're Jamaican. Right. And I'm absolute about that. In terms of the realness of this question, though, is that it is in terms of the quality. And you see the league. I went to watch a game the other day. Two teams, I think one maybe fourth and one about fifth or sixth.
The Premier League.
In the Premier League. And the quality was, I left asking, many questions. How can we really improve the
quality? Not supposed.
So what he's saying, people, and we've been saying this now for the longest. Finally, somebody who lived in Jamaica, go overseas, got his pro license, come back and saying, the quality, I'm going to be nice and not be rude like a maverick. Maverick said, it's not good. I would say the quality is not the level required to compete on the international basis at a high enough level. This is not Caribbean we're playing against people. We're trying to do CONCACAF with the US, with Canada, with Mexico. Everybody recruiting players. Mexico and America fight for players every day. America go anywhere to go find players. They have players now in the Bundesliga they want to bring in. Players not come land and never cost the player. Same for go because he want to play come play for the national team. Canada have a lot of Jamaicans on their team, a number of Jamaicans on their team who migrate there, they're citizens. Everybody is trying to get, I'm going to use the term heritage players to play for their country. You hear people in Italy complaining now that they don't have enough immigrants as part of their academies and their youth programs, like all the other countries like England and France and Belgium, all these other countries. So why is everybody moving that direction? And we have these people who are locally based who all keep going back and back and back to the same nonsense. I'm glad Coley said it. If you're a yardie, which infer from that is, regardless of where you were born, nobody plays for Jamaica who is not a Jamaican citizen. Let me repeat that. Nobody not play for Jamaica who is not a Jamaican citizen. You can't play because you're a foreigner. You have to be a Jamaican citizen, which then affords you the right of all rights and privileges that is enabled to, allowed, and afforded to a person with a passport and citizenship paper. That old garbage about, only should be locally born players, when nobody else is doing that. Nobody now do that. You hear Nigeria complaining about diaspora players just because them lose. Yet when Lookman go play for them, when Iwobi go play for them, they not complain. Congo had half their team came from overseas. We talk about Morocco ad nauseum, and the Dutch team, we have about 8 or 9 heritage people from Suriname that play for the Dutch team. Nobody now complain when them win. It's only when you lose, people lose their mind. And as he said, he went to look at a game. Listen to what he said when he go look at the game.
No, it's not.
Right.
I mean, players are out there trying, but there's not much direction. You see players confused on the football field. So these are some things that before we even say on the national team, how can we improve our local league?
So this is not some white man saying this. Because when Hogginson said it, when John Wall said it, when McLaren said it, and McLaren's a politician, so him talk about being physical and strong and energy and commitment, and him started bullshit about, oh, they run hard and they're very physical and they're enthusiastic. He start bring out that whole commitment things when it permeates the environment and create cancer in the environment about overseas born players are not committed or heritage players are not committed. You hear a locally born person who coach in Jamaica at a high enough level, one is about 13 championship at the schoolboy level, and is now coaching overseas, come back and says, the players I've looked at are not at the right level. We cannot go, we can't win nothing with just locally born players because they're not getting the coaching that they require and they need to get them to the next level. What if you beat that on somebody's brain? And you hear people like Roy Simpson who come out and talk is nonsense. The overthinking now work. We have to go more local. And you Coley come back and says they're not at the level they need to be. As Maverick would say, they're not good enough.
Right.
You know, how can we improve our coaches to a level where they can, go back and have a great impact on the football?
Right.
How can investors invest in our football to put our football at the level that it needs to be?
Yeah.
In the richer country, you look at a Jersey, you look at PSG, you look at Arsenal, you see probably Emirates, you see Qatar Airways. We need our companies to have, a team like Arnett Garden that has so many fans. You need to be like a NCB Arnett Garden team. A Waterhouse, it has to be a Supreme Ventures. These are the investment that needs to be.
Someone can give his all to football. The standards go up.
So the standards can really rise. Unless we start doing that, it's going to be a very difficult job for any coach that comes in.
True. Yeah. All right. What was the last part of the question?
And as somebody said to me, when Brianna Williams run for Jamaica and win gold medal, she was born in the US, when Adelaide Tracy or Andrew Hudson, they run 800 and 200 respectively, run for Jamaica, in disciplines where we don't really have nobody that do well, nobody now complain. Right? Nobody now complain. We complain because we think we can play football, but we're not that good. We complain about diaspora born players because we think we can play football and we love the sport, but we're not good. But we can't admit we're not good because we look good amongst ourselves. But when we go face other competition, we're not as good. Now, I would agree that the diaspora players have not gotten to us where we need to get to. But to me, it's more of the recruiting and the process than just the players. Yeah, the players are culpable, but the recruiting has been atrocious. The administration has not done the best job, and it manifests itself in outcomes.
The long ball.
I
won't get into the coach was there and they asked him those questions, and those final decision is his. I would not. I'm sure it would not be that you would ask player to play those long ball.
Yeah.
What I really want to say, coming here, though, is not a question, but for a German coach to come to Jamaica, and this is a German coach who could have coached Bayern Munich. He was in Baghdad. He was offered the.
Listen to this carefully, because this is Coley branding himself, people. No, listen to this carefully. I talked about this at the outset of the show, but listen to this carefully.
Bayern Munich job. He would have brought Cameroon to the World Cup. Would have won the African champions. The league, not the league, but as a country, Cameroon, they won the African Nations Cup. To select me as a coach and having me to be bestowed upon me great responsibility in the team. But after leaving, there's a coach who have access to all coaches in the world.
Yes.
He could just put up something and say, I tell a friend, look, I need an assistant coach.
And the whole world would apply.
Of course, definitely, because it's Winfred Schaefer. Maybe in Jamaica, he don't sound as big as you probably hear in Africa, probably in Asia. but this is a big name coach. But he said to me, Coach, anywhere I go in the world,
You're coming
with me. Because I've never had an assistant coach like you.
Yeah.
In terms of trust, in terms of my ideas, my IQ as a coach. And everywhere we went, we go to Iran together, we went to UAE together, we went to Al-Khor together in Qatar. And when he left, I remember we were terminated in about November. And 3 days after, another club was calling me. He said, listen up, we want you to be a part of our club. And Coach Schiff was the first person I called. I said, Coach, what do you think? Should I take it? And he said, yes. And because if he, at that moment, he said no, I said, Coach, wait out, an opportunity is coming. But he said he gave me his blessing. And even now, we still have good rapport because he's with Ghana. He's the advisor, technical advisor to Ghana, to the World Cup. I know there's a lot of changes in terms of the coaching now, but
yeah, they fired the coach.
They fired the coach, but he would have been the technical advisor to Ghana going to the World Cup.
What I can tell you, Cole, is that there's a lot of Jamaicans.
I think what Cole is basically saying, a couple of things. One is, don't pigeonhole me as the coach or former coach of JC. My resume is bigger than JC. One of the more renowned coaches in the world took me under his wings, have me around him because of the quality I exhibited, and he valued me and what I bring to the table. I have experience, I have achievements, I have exposure. My CV speaks for itself right now, and I continue to elevate myself. I continue to get better, and you got to think of me much broader, more wider, more accomplished than the person who was at Jamaica College. And I believe I have the skill sets to get to the next level, or I'm at that level. You have to view me in a different light. So here is my resume. Revisit the resume that you know before, because the resume has changed. And by the way, it's substantiated, it's validated, it's verified by someone who is known to have been around some of the biggest clubs and biggest countries in the world, and pick me of everyone else he could have chosen from to be part of his entourage. I wouldn't call it entourage. Part of his support, part of his inner workings or inner persons who he leverages to help him accomplish his objective.
Who feel like you should be given the job. What I will say is that based on what you have done over the last hour and what you would have done elsewhere last night, you would have done your reputation absolutely no harm. Your fan base has gotten a little bit bigger in terms of the people that rate Miguel Coley. And my old lady used to say, what is fair can be unfair.
Yeah, and when I was pushing for him, when they got rid of McLaren, I didn't remember that you were the assistant coach when I went to the Gold Cup. I didn't even use that argument, Yeah, you reminded me that you were actually the assistant.
And you brought Barbican to the Premier League from Super
Even
League.
that I didn't even remember that. I was aware, but I didn't remember.
So Coley, big up yourself, sir. There can be no doubt that you are one who has to play a part in Jamaican football, or should play a part. But let's see how the future unfolds. Thanks for dropping in.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. Cool.
So that was Miguel Coley's interview with KLAS Omega Radio. Interesting interview. I think I've gone through most of what I want to cover in terms of the interview. I thought he did himself well in how he communicated, answered most of the question well. He recovered on the local versus diaspora question. I think he's a very smart man, because I think he realized what he said earlier and recovered throughout the interview. Good evening. Hello.
Hello, Kranky.
Who's this?
Issa.
Hey, Issa, how you doing?
I'm not bad, man. I'm not bad. There, I watch the show and I'm dying for wait till the interview to call, man.
So what you want to say, Issa?
The first thing is, when the balance argument, Kranky, he straight up lied. He straight up lied when you called in and asked him out to explain about what balance entails. Because when he was speaking about balance, you notice where he went? He went to talking about giving a youth from Waterhouse an opportunity and this, that, and the third, right? Why would you mention a kid from Waterhouse when you're speaking about balance if you're not inferring about where someone is born?
Yeah.
It makes no sense that you say that if you're not speaking about where somebody is born.
Well, I think he fell into the same trap that a lot of people in Jamaica fall into, right? Which is around the concept of the balance argument is out there across the entire Jamaica spectrum, especially in the supposedly expert communities of football. You hear Maverick them talk about it. You can infer from Orville's comments as if almost like, why can't we have local players, right? You can infer from the question he's asking and the tone and how you position it, right? And so what he said initially didn't align with what he said later.
Well, I wouldn't say his line. My bad to say that, but it did not. It was matching up.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I heard he speak about balancing them, my ears went up because I want to hear what he's saying, and he went to say and speak about somebody in Waterhouse and give this youth a chance and Ray. Like, why would you even mention that if you're speaking about balance? Isn't balance about what the team needs?
Right. So I try to provide context around my question to give him no wiggle room. Right. That's why I mentioned the idea about meritocracy and citizenship. So if I tell you you're a citizen, just like local, so don't get it twisted, we're all at the same level. And then I said, you pick your team based on the quality, not anything else. Then you have to figure out a way to overcome that if you're going to bring in the balance based on local versus overseas. So I wasn't trying to box him in, but I wanted him to fully understand how it sounds to talk about giving a kid an opportunity at the expense of someone, and you don't know that person's history. Here's a misconception people have, sir. That everybody from England have money and then grew up in a great academy. That's why they might play football. You know how much poor people in England from the Caribbean who live in something they call them public housing, I forgot what they call it. This estates. And real estate, you know. A bad estate and a good estate.
They wouldn't even know. How
estate you are living now. Okay? The council house is in an estate and a good place them to live. So,
and the idea of saying that you want to give a youth an opportunity as the national coach, Kranky, I did see him coach them from Waterhouse to give the youth an opportunity and change in life. The same coach from Harborview to give the youth an opportunity and change in life. And them people, if you worry about that, you should be worrying about getting the team to play well and win matches. That's supposed to be on your mind. So that's where me have a little issue with Coley. Yeah. And it's not the first time hearing he says things like this. You understand? I understand if we're picking a local squad outside the window and stuff like that. Yada. But you shouldn't be worrying about changing a youth life from Harborview and Waterhouse and Portmore. You're the national coach. That's not where your head should be right now. If you want to change some youth life, go and go coach Waterhouse, go and go coach Harborview and change your life.
They have chance to bust a youth, you know. So let me give you an example of bust a youth. You should be busting a youth in Nations League. You should be busting a youth in World Cup qualifiers. Let me give you an example. You're going to Unity Cup. Unity Cup should be what new blood can we bring into the team? We know what we have before. So we have players in England or in Jamaica who will have the potential, right? What's the kid that play midfield? Merrick, what's his name?
Merrick.
Right. Those kids, those players, we say, you know what, they have potential. We go to Unity Cup. We're going to try to get them on the field, right? Because this is a friendly game, a friendly tournament. It's not an official World Cup, a Nations League qualifier. Let's see if we can blend some of them. And let's get some kids from England who think have potential also. And let's not just use the old players, them who we have, who are the same recut. And when you do recycle, but the same players, right? So people like Pinnock who play a long season. Well, not really play a long season. Maybe somebody else than Pinnock. So King play a long season, got Pinnock down, play no football. King play a long season. So take a rest, King, away somehow. Let's bring somebody else in who want to look at. You can do that, right? England does that. England was capping every single body in their mother when the under 20 coach was the coach for the national team when Southgate resigned. We can do that with the Unity Cup, but don't use the Nations League. Don't use the World Cup qualifiers to bust a youth. I don't agree with that.
Me either, Kranky, and as you rightly said, there's a window and a space to allow players who deserve the call up to get minutes. You know, as I said, they will play more games out the window, from what I heard. And you have tournaments like the Unity Cup where you have players like that you can, get a look at their talent. And also, he made a comment about comparing a player from the local league to a player elsewhere,
Right.
whether the championship or whatever, and how it might be difficult to judge. But he spoke about eye test. You're a coach. You look and you see what a player is doing on the field, right? But you have to go to tangible facts as well. I don't know if it's because it's an interview. Sometimes we might beat them. If probably he would say that if he had more time, but you have to also look at stuff that is tangible that you can say, okay, this is what he did, not only the eye test. You understand, Kranky? And I believe a lot of our local coaches, they don't have any stats to go off a lot of the things that they're saying. As far as I'm concerned, or know of, it's only Mount Pleasant really that uses the GPS system that they can give you actual tangible stats of what players are doing when they're training and they're playing games. You understand? So when you're going to tell me that you're going to look and use eye tests, that cannot work. You understand?
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned that the eye test may be deceiving because the level of the player that you're playing against affects how you play. So if I'm playing against inferior competition, I may look like the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I may not be that good a player because the competition is inferior, right? The more you go up, the more difficult the league, the harder the competition is, the more your skill set can be validated and can be assessed.
So
And I agree with you about the whole concept of eye test. Hey, eye test gone. Eye test soon. People soon stop use eye tests. People soon stop use eye tests. Everything is data driven. People not even know eye test no more.
Too much things that can help us to only use that. And I'm not saying that we can't look and see something. I'm saying that cannot be the only criteria that you're using to say, yeah, this youth have talent.
It's not. We still have self-driving car alone, where the car take you from point A to point B. And we eyes used to carry go, what? We still have the eye test we drive. We now have no eye test we drive no more. Our data run it, information. So go ahead, sir.
And then now, this vibes thing that people are trying to say, okay, if the team had more players with vibes and Kranky, we as Jamaicans, we really need to get over this vibes thing, Kranky, because when people go on the field to play football, are your talent more see out there show me? You understand? And you guys are going to some intangible stuff about chemistry and vibes and all of those things are secondary to your talent that you come on display on the field. Would you agree with me?
Yeah.
You understand? So this whole vibe thing, bro, like your talent more see.
Well, McLaren had vibes, McLaren type of vibes enough,
Like
McLaren was a vibes, man.
And the vibes not bring we nowhere. It's your talent and your ability more see when you go out on the field. I want to see vibes and chemistry and your talent and ability. All of them things that we come after, that's secondary. If you can show me that when you go on the pitch, all of the vibes where you have, it's not going to help.
Yeah.
It's not going to help. So me really would I like them sit and figure this thing out, but the talent and ability of the players must come first. And when you speak about diamond in the rough, why? They always trying to drive the point that the diamond in the rough can only come are born out of Jamaica. We have players everywhere in the globe, Kranky, like me. I just don't like when they speak as if diamond in the rough can only come from born at Jamaica. It rubs me the wrong way. You understand? Because there are a lot of us who are supporting the team who have children who are not born in Jamaica. You understand what I say? But they are Jamaicans. They have the culture in them just like anybody else. They have the same passport like anybody else. You understand?
Yeah.
So it just rubs me the wrong way when they talk about diamond in the rough and all of that, like it's only Jamaica they can be born.
Yeah. Well, we need to continue to push the message that we got to think broader.
Mr. Coley have to shape up when he come on to that. As I say, I heard him previously and he come and him reiterate this. So, Mr. Coley, if you're listening, we are Jamaicans wherever we are. And I know you spoke about the quality of the league and where it is.
He wasn't complimentary. He wasn't complimentary at all.
Yeah, so you yourself know that.
Yeah.
You understand? So you have to speak like you know that. And the next thing what I realized, Kranky, when he was speaking about how he likes to play and he went ahead and said, it is his personal opinion. And he's a good person. I noticed when they asked him questions that seemed like he would want to go against what was happening and what the head coach was doing, he preferred to stay away from that. But when he spoke about how he liked to play, it sounds totally different now how Rudolph Speed want to play. You understand? So I think he is a total different coach from Rudolph Speed, and probably some of the things that and the way how they play he would not agree with. But as I say, I saw him kind of moving away from not wanting to say this is what he would prefer versus what the head coach would prefer. You know, he kind of give a diplomatic answer. So he seems like he's a total different coach, and what he would want from the team would be different. So I don't know if he gets the job, if it would be a good thing for the team and Jamaica, but it seems like he's a different coach from Rudolph Speed.
Well, we'll see what happens, because at the end of the day, he looks like he's going to be around for a little while, especially given what's happening in the Middle East. So we'll see what happens. But I appreciate the call, sir. I appreciate the call.
Yeah, man, respect.
Yeah, man, bless. People, not close on the program. As I said, I had to run. I'm only going to do this for 2 hours. I'm up. My 2 hours are up. But I thought it was a good interview by Coley. I thought he equipped himself really well, especially even challenging situation. I think the one question I mentioned before was the diaspora question. I think he didn't do as well on, but he came back later on the show to further clarify and expound upon his original answer. So I can't really tell where he came out on that, actually. What is true him and what is for public consumption. But it was a good conversation around him, his experience, the World Cup qualifying process, what he's going to be doing going forward, including, it seems to be, some media work for the World Cup. He wasn't totally clear on whether he aspires for the role as the head coach or what it entails, even though the president says something different. Miguel, you're the last caller. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Kranky. How are you doing, boss?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm good. I think this balance thing that Mr. Coley spoke about was misconstrued by the last caller. And balance doesn't necessarily come from two ends. You can have several ends and try to create a balance. It doesn't necessarily mean one versus the other. And in everything they do, you consider some degree of balance, as your question had alluded to. I think what Mr. Coley meant was, with the limited opportunities in Jamaica, I think all of us, especially those of us who migrate overseas, do so with the knowledge that there are a lot more opportunities overseas, right? So I think where he's coming from is that if you have two similar players, right, with the same skill set, right, while both of them are Jamaicans, right, the only thing that would separate one from the other in some case is if you're going to look at the person here who is seeking great opportunity and give them that chance. That would give them that. I think that's where he's coming from. And I have no problem with that.
Okay. That's not what I heard, but if that's your interpretation, that's fine.
That is my. I think he said that also. If you have
no. He went down the road of giving somebody from a challenging background opportunity that would help them and their family. He did go on the road later about if it's older versus. He used the older for diaspora and younger for local. Why don't we flip that if they're all citizens, right? That's a really interesting way of putting it. So it's almost showing you the advantages with the diaspora. So I'm gonna level the playing field by giving the person from Jamaica locally an opportunity. My philosophy on this is this again. You're trying to accomplish an objective, which is winning. There are avenues to provide that opportunity that may not, as I mentioned before, the Unity Cup, for example. Nobody have a problem with that. You're trying to test people out, trying to figure out who can be part of your team. But if you're going to do it on a Nations League or World Cup qualifier, when you may have better players, I can't agree with that. Because what you're doing is disadvantaging somebody to satisfy some other objective. And if they're both citizens, you can't do that. That's not right.
Well, no, if it's being done on a clear bias basis, well, and there's going to be bias in everything.
All
We
right.
can't skip that, right?
Yeah.
But if it's going to be to an extent where, it's taken advantage of, fine. But if you have two similar, to me, if you have two similar players, and I want to repeat that. The other thing that I'm looking at, Kranky, is this. A lot of people are calling for Mr. Speed or for an overseas coach. But don't we need to get some more information before we make decisions on that? Because, for example, can the federation afford to employ an overseas coach, especially after so many failed employment of those coaches over the past 2 to 4 years?
It depends
Can
on
they
who, you know.
afford
So
it?
we
And is
heard Carter talking about Darren Moore, who probably would cost less than a McLaren or a Halgrimson. The question is Speed the person, given the bad taste in people's mouth about him being the architect of the failed World Cup campaign, right? So that's why some people are asking for Coley, even though Coley may not have the resume in totality to assume the role. But Coley did coach as assistant coach to Schaefer when they went to the Gold Cup final. So I do think the question is legit as to not necessarily foreign versus local, but is Rudolph the right coach? Rudolph doesn't have international experience. And the question is, well, how you get experience if I don't give me any experience? That's also a question for everyone, which is,
right.
How do I get experience if I have no experience?
And you know that, speaking of local coaches, while a lot of people were totally say bad things about what's his name, the Mount Pleasant coach,
Tapa.
Tapa on paper is one of the most successful Jamaican coaches, put aside Rene Simons, who went to the World Cup.
Yeah,
He has been one of the most successful. You understand me? But yet it is ironic that 90% of the people has nothing good to say about Tapa. If you mention Tapa, it's like bad taste in their mouth.
Actually, Miguel, here's what's interesting, Miguel. Tapa's coaching, all these bad outcomes improved Tapa in the eyes of everyone, right? All these bad outcomes between McLaren, what happened to the World Cup qualifier. And Tapa is like the Reggae Boyz of 98. He gets better every year as a coach. Like other boys get better every year as players. They get better every year. Because the further away you are, Tapa has a winning record with Jamaica, right? I think he has like 50-something wins and 50-something, and maybe 40-something losses. I think he has like a 6 or 7 more wins than losses with a number of draws. So he has a winning percentage with Jamaica. That's not debatable. And he's played in some of the more tougher competitions like the Gold Cup and other competitions. So no, his record speaks for itself.
Also.
Yeah, his record speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
So I'm coming from that perspective where is there some sort of bias? Because if you look at the general economy, we tend to rather imported stuff than locally produced stuff. And I'm not talking about players now. You understand me? I'm talking about coaches. We tend to not have the same level of respect or admiration for local coaches. We look past their talent or past their ability. You understand me? I'm more happy at
No, but I think that was right, though. You know why it's right? Because Speed said it indirectly. Speed basically told you he was coaching Cavaliers for years. He didn't know how to coach until he started taking coaching courses. He basically said it. He had no idea what he was doing. And he was coaching for years, right? Because when you go to coaching school, it's a whole different ball game about how you think about football. If you talk to some coaches, and I've talked to some people who are in coaching, it's just a whole different level as to the things that you need to think about, both mentally and physically, for players. So locally coach that you hear about that are great, and people talk about Chung Fan and great. A lot of those coaches couldn't survive in today's environment. They just would not be great. They may be great in Jamaica because the competition, they get the best players. But if you take them out of Jamaica, they may not be successful because the game has changed. The game has moved on.
So let me ask you this final question. Given all the variables surrounding the match that they played last against DR Congo, right? The fact that it's a high pressure game, it was a must win. and all these things, that all those variables. How much in terms of the overall, that overall construction of the entire game, how we perform everything, how much would you have given the coaching staff out of 10?
Damn. 6.
So is that a pass? Because then most times, like,
It's a pass because so maybe 7. And here's why. So your ranks 6 because we didn't get to the World Cup. So I can't give you more than 6. And here's why. I actually text somebody after the World Cup good and said, good job. I think the country should be proud of you because we expect to get embarrassed, right? People are predicting 5 and 6 and 4, whatever it was. Secondly, it's not like Congo run us off the field and we just barely hung on. We had a chance to beat them actually. And if the handball was given,
part of it that we ranked 60 and they ranked 40.
Well, we ranked 70, they ranked 48, right? Somewhere around there.
Okay.
So
Right.
they're a high-ranked team, but still, we ranked higher than Curacao, much higher than Curacao, and they beat us. So you have to take into consideration, which is you lose to a lower-ranked team, and now you lose to a higher-ranked team. Now, is there a material difference between 48 and 70? In today's football, given what FIFA ranking is, not really. Congo is a better team with better players. That's no doubt.
Right.
And we held our own against them. But the one thing which come across, which people are talking about quite a bit, is we were not penetrative. So it's one thing to say, well, we had more possession than they did, but did they feel any pressure? And I'm not sure they did. Right? They just had to score because we didn't look like we were going to score. But I thought they equipped themselves well, both the team and the players and the coaches.
But it's not good enough to give that coaching staff another look or another bite at the apple.
It's not that's not good enough. If the coaching staff didn't have the baggage, yes. They have baggage.
So
they have a lot of baggage. They have a lot of baggage.
On their history.
Not the coaching staff. Rudolph has a lot of baggage. It's not in the coaching staff. It's not the coaching staff. Rudolph has a lot of baggage. So Donaldson from Arsenal don't have no baggage. Coley don't have no baggage for the national team. Rudolph has the baggage.
Okay, so there's no redemption.
Rudolph had a chance to redeem himself during the process, and he didn't. He had a chance to fire the man like 10 or 11 times, and he didn't. Rudolph had a chance for the entirety when he was at the Unity Cup, when he came back, when he went to the Gold Cup and failed miserably, when he became technical advisor, he had a chance to get rid of the man, he didn't. So I don't know what redemption means when you talk about redemption. Redemption would have mean you get to go to he had his redemption moment against Congo. It didn't work.
Okay.
His final redemption, I mean. Sorry. So yeah. And by the way, people.
Okay,
all right, thanks, Miguel. I appreciate the call.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna close the program. Let me say something, people. I have nothing against Rudolph Speed. I respect Rudolph Speed. I think he's a very smart man. But I'll say this again. I come from an environment where we don't reward failure. You just don't. I'm not taking any more call, people. No more call. I gotta go. I'm sorry. I gotta go. I can't take any more call, people. Sorry, I can't talk. But I'm closing on the program. I can't reward failure. I apologize to anyone who want to call in, but I do have to run. We've been on over 2 hours, almost 2.5. I cannot reward failure. I have nothing against Rudolph. I communicate with Rudolph once in a while. As I said before, sometimes it's not pleasant conversation. I even text him this evening about something that he should look into. And he may become coach. And as I said before, I will not deny myself the pleasure of supporting Jamaica. So I will not necessarily say I'm not going to support Rudolph and go and boycott. People go boycott. Boycott a waste of time. My final point is this. Reggae Girls are playing tomorrow. If you're in Jamaica, go by the National Stadium. Make them feel love. They're the only chance you have of going to a World Cup anytime in the next 4 years. Okay? The only chance you have to go. Because we may never see a World Cup again. But the girls, they have an opportunity. They're one of the best 4 teams in the region. They have to struggle with Mexico going forward. And if they lose that game, they'll go play somebody from some other territory. As Canada and US are going to lock up the 2 spots, so they got to fight Mexico. They have a chance. We just have to improve the midfield for the Reggae Girls. To me, that's it. We need better midfielders to be able to supply Bunny Shaw, and we need Jodie Brown to live up to her potential. Otherwise, I think we're going to be good. Anyway, thank you. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful evening. I appreciate you. Before you leave, please hit the like button and peace out.